Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum and good morning I present to you. Welcome to our forum today, which is under the sub-theme of how children acquire their second language with the specific title that we are going to dive in today, which is the unseen challenges of second language acquisition in children. So on my left, we have our first speaker, teacher Danea from
Sherman Girls High School.
and on my right, I have teacher Faten from.
SMK Banatin on.
So how are you both today?
We're doing fine.
I'm
good. How are you?
I am feeling very, very good today. I'm so excited to have a forum today. I've been waiting to meet both of you in person.
That's sweet. Well, I'm honored to be here today, and I would love to actually share my opinions on this topic.
Yeah, Mita, I'm very honored to be here today. Thank you. So, Miss Hanis for inviting us to talk on this forum.
Definitely. So, we are going to dive into the unseen challenges of second language acquisition in children. Before we move on towards our first and second speaker, I would like to have a talk on quite a simple topic, which is environmental and social factors that affecting children in acquiring their second language. Now, in this topic, there are three main subtopics that I would like to highlight, which is the home language, parents, and peer, or maybe fear. Moving on towards our first subtopic, which is home language. I would like to inform all of you that home language, the one's home language, might be different with the second or maybe third language. Do you agree?
Yes. So what I'm trying to say is, for example, if someone has Malay as their home language, then their second language would definitely be English.
It could be based on what the schools require them to do, what the country curriculum asks them to do. It may be in other country, it might be other languages, but in Malaysia, here we are practicing English as our second language.
Right.
Now, if the home language of the students is dominant, therefore it would create confusion, frustration, or maybe resistance for them to learn. It is because they only depend on the first language to learn every single thing. Or for example, subjects like mathematics, science, like most of the primary schools in Malaysia, they use Malay language as their academic language. Right. Now, you might think that the student might as well do code switching. However, for children, code switching is not reliable for them to learn two languages in the same time. It means that it makes them confused to apply which rule to which language, because the grammatical rule for each language applies differently. For example, English might use different sentence structure and Malay language might use different structure. Now, let's take a look on this picture right here. This is Ravi. He is raised in an Indian household. However, his parents does not encourage him to use his second language, which is English, and only ask him or maybe allows him to talk in Tamil in his household. Now, what do you think might affect Ravi in his learning of acquisition of his second language?
Well, personally for me, I feel like the fact that he is restricted to only speak in the Tamil in his own house would definitely be a challenge for him, because he wouldn't be able to practice his second language. You know, kids, when they are currently at their early stage, they would need a lot of practice, because as we all know, practice makes perfect. But when he is restricted to only speak in his mother tongue, it will be hard for him to express himself in English to his friends. As we've discussed just now, home language and the language we use at school are two different languages. So he wouldn't be able to bond with his friends in a way where people that can practice their second language at home will be able to.
I do definitely agree with teachers Daniel's point. for him to communicate with his peers in schools where each of them speaks different first language.
Definitely. So as teachers, there are quite a few solutions that we could apply. First, we can meet his parents and encourage his parents to let him practice or have simple conversations in his second language at home, so that he might be expressing himself in a way that both of the side could understand. Their parents could understand him, and he could also practice his English. Definitely. Now, if his parents keep not discouraging him in not using his second language, it might be get depression because he is not able to communicate well with his friends or with his teachers. So he
Cannot express his emotions,
Ah,
right?
definitely.
You feel trapped.
Especially in classroom. Now, let's move on towards our second main point, which is parents. Parents' influence could affect a child's progress in acquiring their second language in two aspects, positive and negative. If the parents support the child too much, whereas they place too much pressure, too much academic pressure on their child, their student might be experiencing stress or resistance towards the language itself, because the parents keep forcing him or her to learn the language. He or she might hate the language and they won't be able to learn it in a fun way because they are forced to do so. However, if the parent discourage using the second language, just like what Ravi's parents did just now, he or she might lose their cultural identity. Right? They are discouraged of using their second language because their parents might think that, oh, he or she might not be able to speak his first language again because they are learning another languages. It could lead to lack of involvement and learning opportunities of the child itself. Now, let's take a look at this picture right here. This is our boy. He lives in a Chinese household. However, his parents only allows him to speak in English at home. Now, what do you think might affect our boy in the future, or maybe in the current situation?
Well, in my point of view, I feel like it would affect Abba in a way where he wouldn't be able to connect with his distant relatives, especially his relatives that only speak in his mother tongue. So, for example, he would meet them and he wouldn't be able to actually communicate with them well, because why, he's so used to be speaking in English, in his second language, to the point where he would lose his cultures, his identity, and they would all feel foreign to him.
Well, I do agree, and this can affect similarly to our previous example, which is Ravi. It can also affect his emotional state, because when he can connect with his families and relatives, he can get
Isolated.
isolated. He can be isolated from his family because he cannot communicate with them. He doesn't have the same first language as them and cannot speak very fluently and can't reach the same level of understanding with them. So he will feel a bit down, and because he cannot communicate with them, he will feel no connection and he will feel lost.
Additionally, he will feel emotionally unconnected with his family and will not try to express himself, express his emotion using the language again. Now, let's take a look on our last subtopic from me today, which is fear or fear. Now, why did I write fear beside of fear, besides it right together? Because it is because fear might lead to fear. Because among children, it will make them have a fear. They will have a fear of speaking the language if their peers doesn't apply the languages in the same time. It is because peers might mock each other. Peers might make each other ashamed of themselves because they can't speak the second language properly. They make mistakes. They cannot pronounce it properly. They did not use the correct vocabulary. However, we as teachers must make them see that mistake is good. It is because if somebody make a mistake, it means that there are rooms for improvement. Don't you think so?
Yeah, I definitely agree on that. And well, let's just go back to the problems, the examples that we've discussed just now, and think of the solutions. Well, for me, when it comes to Robbie's case, I feel like the solution is by making the parents understand, changing their mindset, make them understand that learning or mastering in the second language is not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, it could help him in the future when it comes to obtaining job opportunities and well getting a scholarship. That mastering in your second language can definitely help in those kind of cases.
No. What do you think, Teacher Faten?
Well, I think from the example of our boy, he has the advantage of speaking in a international language where he can communicate with everyone. Everyone can speak English. But when we look back on his ability to talk in his own language, he will feel from what you say that peers give fears, right? He won't be able to really talk with his peers that is surrounding him that can talk in Mandarin. So if you look back, our boy can slowly try to learn his language by first communicating with his parents, and then he will try slowly with his friends, maybe try to find his friends that he will feel comfortable in. You agree?
Yeah, definitely. So that our boy could find his own culture identity again. Not learning another language doesn't mean that you could lose your culture. It's just gaining new knowledge, gaining new information so that you could use it properly in the future. Now, let us conclude about the topic of environmental factors that is affecting children's second language acquisition. First is the home language. Teachers need to understand that home language students and their second language is different, so that teachers might do their best to help them and not discourage them in using their second language in schools. And parents also needs to play an important role in supporting their child while learning another languages. And their peers of the children itself, the student itself must also collaborate with each other, help to correct each other, learn together, make mistakes because mistakes is room for improvement. Now I have talked about the environmental factors. Now let us pass the floor to our first speaker today, to teacher Danea Amalin from SMK PIP Sri Aman, to have a talk on the topic, which is
Alright, so my topic for today is the influence of mass media on children's second language acquisition. So we all know that mass media not only involves applications such as TikTok, all those social medias, but it also encompasses newspaper, magazines, journal, basically the things that can help us gain new information. So when it comes to mass media, they are not necessarily our enemy, especially when as teachers we are training our students to be able to master in their second language. If anything, mass media could help them, but what we have to know is that when it is used wrongly, it can bring more damage than the benefits. Well, for platforms such as YouTube or TikTok can influence them in a bad way. So they would be influenced to use an informal language such as short forms. Have you noticed a kid that uses IDK as in IDK in real conversation?
I haven't heard of
also use words that are not even registered in the dictionary. Like, can you think of any words? All these words that Gen Z use?
Okay, I think Reese.
Reese, yes, it is not
Oh.
registered in the dictionary.
Or maybe the skibidi, the brain rot thing, the
Skibidi.
skibidi toilet one.
Yes, what does skibidi even means? The thing is, it is not wrong for them to use it, but they must know that they are not supposed to use it all the time. And when it comes to short forms, as I was saying just now, for example, they want to say I don't know. Why can't they just say I don't know? Because they are heavily influenced by the mass media. So it becomes a habit to use the short forms instead of the real, like the long version. So this is something that we would want to avoid, especially as teachers that want to train our students to acquire second language effectively.
Well, I have some questions for you, Miss Danea. Since you said that technology is affecting them in their languages by using informal or slang that you said just now, so shouldn't we just go back to using books and not technologies during our lessons?
Well, we can use like printed materials, for example. However, we must also incorporate all these devices, all these modern devices, because we've entered the 21st century, right? So we want to take full advantage of these things that could bring us more benefit. So when it comes to using technology, we must know the limit too. We have to integrate both. So, well, that is a very good question. I hope I've answered your question.
Well, I do have another one. Because what do you think if I might say your students the technologies give a lot of more bad influence rather than the benefits to them by accommodating technologies to the classroom?
Well, yes, I can see that happening because this is aligned with the topic that we're discussing about right now. So let's move on to the impacts first because I feel like that would definitely answer your question. So teacher Faten asked me how technology would impact them in a negative way. So this brings us to the impacts. So why is this a problem? Why is mass media a problem in SLA, especially because children might struggle in communicating in different contexts. So for example, they would find it hard to differentiate between when they can use this informal language and when they have to use the formal ones. So they wouldn't be able to, like for example, they would accidentally use IDK in a formal setting. For example, they are giving a public speaking and that is something that is unwanted. So besides that, it would also affect their writing skill. They would accidentally write the short forms in their essays and that would force us teachers to deduct their marks, right? So, well, what do you think how do you think we can solve this problem? Ms. Hanis?
I think for we as teachers to help to not solve the problem but maybe could avoid this problem in the future, maybe we could encourage them to use the proper language, proper cues for proper situation, and thus not encourage them to use the short forms, or maybe help them to stop using the short forms. What do you think?
Well, I think they can also can you repeat the questions because like
Oh, well, you wanted to ask me about social media can help them to give you vocabulary.
yes. So social media can also improve their vocabulary. This is my opinion because social media we have a lot of sources that is already in the social media, right? So from that they can explore and try to gain new vocabularies from various of different types of contexts. So that is my opinion.
Well, I would like to disagree on that because we can media, but we also have to agree that we have to go back to the olden days where we focus on printed materials to actually gain knowledge. So instead of thinking that only social media can give them new vocabularies, they can also read back the novels or the magazines or the newspaper even to get new words, to gain new words that they can use in their everyday life, everyday conversations.
But I think books can be quite dated too, because books will be created on a certain years only, and then when we are more advanced in our technology, and it is always updated throughout the time. So if we only uses the textbook or any kind of books, the information is not quite updated according to the current trend.
Well, I get you. That's why, as parents or teachers, we constantly have to give them the modern, no, not modern, like new books. Not just let them stick to the same book. And plus, these printed materials are properly filtered by the government already. So it is not something that is freely like freely. Yes, thank you, Teacher Faten. It is constructed. So how are we supposed to meet each other halfway here?
Now, I could say that both of you have your own points. Now, as a teacher, I actually have experienced the feeling we would like to integrate technology and authentic materials like we were trying to say just now. Now, what if we let the children explore the authentic materials digitally? Let them read a digital newspaper, let them read digital books, or let them explore the digital authentic materials on their own. Now,
Okay, I definitely agree with you. Well, let's take a look at another solution for this problem. So, the schools can integrate media literacy programs. So this can actually help to educate the younger generations on how they can, when they can use the informal language, especially in like casual conversation, and when they have to avoid them at all costs. Well, let's move on to the next speaker now.
Alright. Okay. Sorry, Miss Hanis. I am so excited to talk. You can talk first.
no. Well, we have taken a look on the mass media factors that influencing children's acquisition in their second language. Now, let me pass the floor to our second speaker, which is Teacher Faten from SMK Tulisan On.
Okay. Thank you, Miss Hanis, and thank you, Miss Danea, for the very insightful information. But since we are running out of time in this forum, I'm just going to give a brief ideas of what I'm going to talk about. Since my topic is about the influence of age that affecting how children acquire certain language. So I have 2 points, which is young children and older children. Both of them, it doesn't mean that I'm going to say that they doesn't have any abilities to acquire language because of their age. It's because of their age that they have different levels of how and method of how they acquire the language. Because for your information, young children at the age of 0 to 6 years old, they acquire language easily because they mimic their parents. This is aligned with the behavioral theories where they mimic how their parents talk to acquire their first language. However, for the older students, they acquire it's not like they don't acquire language easily, but they acquire language because they have the maturity. They have the advantage of maturity to them. So they acquire language, they can think how a grammar is structured and how they can create a sentence easily rather than the younger students. But younger students, they have a little bit of problems in that aspect because they doesn't have yet in that language. So they may find it hard to comprehend a language when a teacher teaches them idioms or even any types of poems, for example, poems. So, what can you add on? Do you think you can? Do you want to add on some points?
Yes, I would like to support your point just now. I definitely agree with the fact that you said that all the children have the advantage of maturity on their side. So basically, this is true because you'll be able to think more critically and creatively. This can help in the process of second language acquisition because they have that to their own advantage.
True. How about you, Nas?
Now, from my perspective, I think that it is a part of our responsibility as teachers to apply the right method, the suitable method for the age of the children. We cannot teach the younger children the way we teach older children, and we cannot teach older children the way we teach the younger children. We should apply a different approach for each level of the children itself.
Okay, that is a very insightful opinions that you have stated just now, and I think we all already summed up on my topic today, which is about the influence of age on children language acquisition. So I will pass to Miss Hanis.
Now, we have all looked into the three main factors that is affecting children language acquisition, which is the first one, environmental factors, mass media, and the age influence for them. Now, I think that might be all towards our forum today. I hope that the new insight that we gave to all of you are informative and useful for all of you teachers or maybe students or teachers to be outside. Thank you very much for watching our forum.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.